Yo, I'm Vital Skull, and welcome to yet another library book haul. The last book haul, I'm not sure if I mentioned in the video that I was gonna do a review on any of the books. I can't. Well, I couldn't, but because the books were overdue, and I felt like it would be really pointless because it would just be me pretty much going on about how great the books are, and that would probably get really boring. Because I enjoyed every single one of them, and I think the only books that would be able to go on a full rant about how great it was would be the Hocus Pocus and the all new sequel, because that book really blew me away about how great it was. I mean, it had its faults in the sequel part. There's a scene that I wish wasn't in there. If you read the book, you probably know it's a scene that it's a musical scene. Let's just put it that way. If you read the book, you would automatically know what I'm talking about as soon as you get to the page. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I see what you're talking about. To me, I feel like it wasn't needed, given that it didn't really have any significant outcome in the end of the book, anyways. So yeah, it just felt really pointless. And a little cringy. But other than that, I really, really liked it, and I can't wait for the third book or the third part of the story. I don't know how to put it. Because you got Hocus Pocus, which is originally a movie, but then the first half of the book is the movie in a book format. And then the second half is the sequel, but it's set up to have a third part. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work. But I'm very, very excited for that because there's this. So the sequel kind of answered the questions that if you ever had in the first book, well, actually the movie, not book. At the end where the two bullies that bully Max, they're just left hanging in cages at the end of the movie, and it lets you know okay, well, what happened to them? Well, it tells you what happened to them, and a bunch of other things were mentioned where it's okay, that makes sense, and that makes sense. Plus, it also added on in those series. It kind of added, I'm going to call them deleted scenes, especially, in the first half, because it kind of added a little bit more meat to the story a bit. So that was great. I kind of wish I was, in the movie, sort of, because it was, those parts were really good, but, yeah, so they added a little bit more for the first half, and then the second half, it kind of, it all ties together as to how things came about, how I said, about the bullies that were chained up at the end of the movie, what happened to them, and it's oh, okay, so this is what happened to them, and this is how they got out of the cages, which is so not cool. If you read it, it's just not cool at all. But it all gets resolved later. And then, the end of the book, the sequel part, it ends on a cliffhanger. And it's one of the questions that I've always wanted to know. Well, the answers that I always wanted to know to the question and that is, okay, so you guys, for those who have seen Hocus Pocus and know about the spell book, you know that it's bound in human leather and it's got a human eyeball. And I've always wondered, whose skin is that? And whose eyeball is that? And where's the other eyeball? So, the third one basically implements, you guys want to know? Here you go. But you're just going to have to wait. I don't know if there is going to be a third one. I don't know if it's official, but I'm just assuming. And Billy Butcherson's coming back too. I don't know. I think the third part's just gonna have male witches. Whereas in Hocus Pocus, it said the three Sanderson sisters. The sequel has female witches and the Sanderson sisters, but it has like, you know, more witches, but they're all female, and it's like there were male witches also, and there are male witches. So I'm kind of glad for the third book because it's like, oh, we're gonna include male witches this time. So I'm curious about that, and I'm also curious about another question that I hope gets answered in the third one also. You guys should like really read it and give it a shot. It's actually pretty good. I mean, some people don't like it, which is understandable. I mean, once there's like a classic of something and it's like you don't think of it as like it deserves a sequel or whatever, but it's like fine on its own. Like that's cool and all, but it's still pretty good. It's kind of something that you kind of like have to read just because. So yeah, that was like, it was a pretty good read. Got me like really into the Halloween spirit. Let's see, what else did I read? I read some mangas, I think. I can't remember what I read. I've read so much shit now. Oh, I'm still reading The Diviners. I don't know, for whatever reason. It's like, the book's not bad. It's not bad. It's actually really good. It's like, if I actually sit down and read it, I get really into it. But for some reason, I just can't sit down and just read it. It's like my mind gets distracted by other stupid shit. Like, I would be like, oh, I'm gonna go read a chapter, and then I end up playing a game. Or I end up watching a video that I've watched about 50,000 times, or I don't know, I just get distracted for stupid reasons. I don't know why. And I really want to finish it because it's good. It's like, once you start really getting into it, it's like, it's really good, but then you gotta stop reading because, you know, you gotta sleep or whatever, and then it's just, I have a hard time getting back into it. And I haven't gotten around to reading or listening to Howl's Moving Castle. I have the audiobook now, but I haven't gotten around to reading that yet. Again, for the same stupid reasons. I also don't feel like reading that and then getting... since it's taken me so long to read The Diviners, I don't want to forget anything in The Diviners. Because I feel like it's that kind of book where it's like every little detail almost matters. Maybe. And I don't feel like starting like another book that's not too big, but I mean, you know, I want to like really pay attention to it, I guess, because I never read it before. And yeah. So there's that. But like, as I said, The Diviners, it's actually pretty good. I mean, from what I read, so far it's really good. I just wish I could actually sit down and read it. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I read, but I pretty much enjoyed everything that I read. Oh yeah, American Panda. Yeah, I read that also, and that was unexpected, but I liked it. It's a very good contemporary. May is funny. It's just like, her parents are just so... It's like, she's brainwashed. Like, okay, by her parents, like, method of thinking, like, oh, you have to marry somebody that is also Taiwanese, that is, gonna be a doctor. Like, that kind of brainwash, and also, like, oh, if you're sick, do this. And it's like, no, that doesn't work. That's not how you cure sickness. That kind of thing. It's just, like, it even comes down to, like, people around me, they're like, you're brainwashed. It's like, when she's around her parents, she gets annoyed by their way of thinking, but then when she's not around them, and she's around her friends that they bring up about how her parents have a backwards way of thinking, and then she gets, like, annoyed. Where she's like, yes, I get it, okay, my parents are, I don't know, I forgot what she said, but her friends called them dictators. Well, her one friend called them dictators because of their way of thinking, and they don't want her doing anything outside the box. That type of thing, like, it was actually really good because it's like, it's really sort of a book where it's like a mother and daughter relationship type of thing. But it does end up getting resolved towards the end, and I like that. It's like the parents end up learning that they were in the wrong. It takes them a while to realize that. But yeah, it's a good read. It's good contemporary. I like contemporaries like that. And the romance part didn't really get in the way either. Like, it's just, it's just there to throw in. It's not like a big drive in the story. So yeah, that was really good. And I think that's all I gotta say for those books. Yep. So now I should probably get on to the actual haul of the books that I'm going to be reading, which should not take long. And so I'm going to be reading Volume 1, not Volume 1, but Volume 3 of Ms. Marvel, which is called Crushed. Yep. And then also Volume 4, Last Days. I don't know how many there are, because when I went back to the library, they already had new volumes. So I don't know how long that series is. The next one, next book is Monsterologist. Yeah, The Monsterologist by Rick Yancey. I really wanted to read this for a long time when I first heard about it. So I can't really explain it well, so I'm just going to read the summary. So it says, so begins the journal of Will Henry, orphaned assistant to Dr. Pellinor Rathhop? I don't know how to pronounce that. A man with the most unusual specialty, monsterology, the study of monsters. In his time with the doctor, Will has met many a mysterious late-night visitor and seen things he never imagined were real. But when a grave robber comes calling in the middle of the night with a gruesome find, he brings with him their most deadly case yet. And it's just, the whole idea of monsters and whatnot fascinates me, and I'm curious to know what kind of monsters this author thinks up. Like, I hope it's just not like werewolves, vampires, demons, the same usual. It's like, I don't mind if that's there, but, if it's like different monsters of a sort, that would be great, since it's monsterology. So I'm assuming there's going to be different types of monsters in here, of a sort. I'd be curious to know what the one they find that is like terrible beyond reason. So I'm curious of what monster that is, and what's it like, and what's it look like, and whatnot. So I don't know why, but I got like this sudden feeling that it's actually a human being. Like, it's just a terrible human being, and that's what they dig up. I got this feeling that it is. Oh, I hope not. Anyways, I really wanted to read it when I first seen it. I thought actually this was a standalone, but apparently it's not. There's actually my library actually has a sequel, and I believe there's actually a third book to it also, I think, or a third one might be coming out. I don't know. I just know there's this one, and then there's the sequel. So, that's interesting. And the rest of these books are mangas. So, I checked out Volume 1 of A Silent Voice. I've heard a lot of good things about it. From what I understand, so this boy, during, like, I think elementary or middle school or something, he ends up bullying this girl here who is deaf. And he ends up bullying her to the point where she ends up transferring to another school. And then he just continued on his life until high school, and then they end up reconnecting in high school, and he ends up, like, trying to redeem himself as being her childhood bully. So that sounded pretty interesting. I'm curious about how it all ends and whatnot, since nobody ever goes that far as to review the series. I do know there's also an animated series on it too, I think. So, yeah, that just, I don't know, I got interested. Hopefully it's good. This next one is Volume 1 of Kiss of the Rose Princess. I checked this out because of For one, the cute art style on front of it. And it just, the idea, so, the books, okay, so the manga is about, a girl that, okay, so I'm gonna read the back. So it's about a girl named Anise Yatamoto, who has been told that if she ever removes the rose choker given to her by her father, a terrible punishment would befall her. Unfortunately, she loses that choker when a bat-like being named Ninhufa falls from the sky and hits her. Ninhufa gives Anise 4 cards representing 4 knights, whom she could summon with a kiss. But now that she has these gorgeous men at her beck and call, what exactly is a request? Okay, I feel like I read a chapter of this in high school, because during whenever I was ever done with my work, and since most of my work was always on computers, I always ended up going on the manga websites and reading just random manga at ease. And I feel like I read a chapter of this, but I flipped through the first chapter. It does not seem familiar, but the premise of the story seems super familiar, like I've read it before. I don't know. It's just flipping. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't look familiar, but the idea of it all sounds familiar with the whole rose choker thing. Unless I'm remembering another anime where there's a girl wearing a choker that she can't not take off. Like, unless there's another one of those, I don't know. It just sounds very familiar, but yeah. So I pretty much checked it out. Basically, cute art, cute boys. There we go. Cute art, cute boys, cute girl. Cute, cute, cute. Moving on. The second volume of My Neighbor Seiki, which is I read the first volume, and let me just tell you, it's funny. Like, it's a very chill, relaxing manga. Like, there's nothing, like, there's, like, no bad guys, there's nothing, like, gracefully happening that's about to destroy the world or any craziness. It's just a very calm, contemporary novel about a boy that just goofs around in class, but nobody notices except for his neighbor. And she's the only one that notices, and every time, like, she's the only one that gets in trouble because, like, okay, for example, they're like, let's say they have English, and he's, like, playing around with something, and she's, like, watching him. And then all of a sudden the teacher randomly just calls on her to read a certain chapter in a book, and if she doesn't remember it, she gets in trouble. But the kid that's goofing off does not. I don't know how it works, but he gets away with it all. And it's so funny, like, he just comes up with the craziest shit. Like, there was a part where he's, in the first volume, where he's playing, Chinese chess, or checkers or something, but he wasn't playing it the correct way. He was just making it where it's like, okay, this half is, this half is, different, like, these are people, this half is people, they're at a war against each other, that type of thing, and he, like, gave him, like, a storyline. Like, he just gave the whole thing a storyline, where it's like, oh, yeah, the head, checker piece is actually, he conspired with the bad guys. Or something like that. I don't know, it's super funny. Like, there's also a part where they're, like, he's playing with Transformers, and they're just sitting down to having tea, like, that's it. Like, he just made a sofa and a table, and just has Transformers sitting down for tea, and then they had, like, a earthquake drill, and then he ends up sticking his Transformers under his desk, with, like, one of them was, like, had, a pillow on his head. So yeah, it's, like, it's super funny. It's creative, too. And, yeah, I don't know, but Seiki doesn't talk. Also, that's the thing. Like, you can see him laughing, but he doesn't say a word. He does not say anything. Like, even when she talks to him and is like, hey, Seiki, maybe you should be paying attention in class and not be doing what you're doing. He doesn't say anything. Even if he's doing, like, a certain thing, there's a part where he cleans his desk. Like, he cleans his desk spotless, and he looks over at her, Um, and he's like motioning like, hey, can I clean your desk? And she's like, what? No. He's like, mm-hmm. She's like, no. Like, that's it. He doesn't say, hey, can I clean your desk too? No, he just does silliness like that. Like, he just motions to her like, hey. Or, like he ends up doing, he ends up coming up with a note-passing mail thing. Like, a post office type of thing. Like, hey, if you want to pass a note, bring it to me and I'll make little envelopes and I will send it off to the person that you want it read to. It's super cute, but it's like, when the girl asked, when she ended up writing a note to her friend, he kept pointing at, like, a piece of paper, like, no, these are the rules, but he never said anything. He does not talk at all. Even when they're not in class, he does not talk. Although I think my favorite scene in the first volume was when they're in science. They're in a science lab, and he ends up making a Ouija board. And this kid next to him is like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, oh, you got a Ouija board? And he just, like, joins in, which is you're not supposed to do. And then he just automatically leaves afterwards, which, again, you're not supposed to do because then you just get cursed or something like that. Which is funny. It's like, again, nobody notices any of that. Like, the other kids notice, but they're like, oh, that's cool, but that's it. They don't snitch on him, they don't do any of that. It's like, nobody ever is like, just let him do his thing, he's good. And apparently he doesn't suffer grade damage either. Like, his grades are good. Like, it's all good. There's even a part where they're in math, I believe, and he's like, he had sand and he, like, shaved it off to the point where it's, like, a very tall, like, thin, wall of sand. And if he was to move, it would have fell, you know? And the teacher calls him to, like, answer a question, and he's, like, slowly trying to get up and not, like, make too much vibration for the wall to fall. And as he's doing that, the teacher's like, oh, that's okay, you don't have to come up here. And then he calls on her, the neighbor girl, Yokoi. He calls on her, he's like, actually, you know what, you come up here and do the problem. And I'm like, are you serious? Really? He gets away? So, I don't know. Yeah. Like, in the front of it, it's like he's doing a murder mystery. I'm not sure if you could see that too well. But he's doing a murder mystery. And she's like, oh, okay. And then on the back, it's like, oh my gosh, there's a trap door in his desk. And she's like, no way. So, I don't know. I'm curious as to what shenanigans Seiki gets up to this time. It does say in the back, imaginative friends, or something like that. So I don't know. And the last one is volume 14 of My Hero Academia. I really, really love this series. Like, My Hero Academia actually really rekindled my love for anime. Because at one point, it's like, I watched anime and I'm like, you know, it's like, I wasn't, like, super, like, heavily into it. Like, I really liked it, but it's not like, oh man, I love the hell out of it, man. Until My Hero Academia, and it's like, I love everything about it. It's just, it's got humor in the right areas, and it's got seriousness in the right areas, and it's just, the characters are not flat, they're all well-rounded. They have multiple layers to them, like, they're not, like, typical stereotypes either. Except for Mineta. He's a typical perv stereotype, I guess. Sort of. It's just, it's so good. And this is the only volume that my library had. But, which is perfect, because it's right after the fight, right after, well, it's during Bakugo and Deku's fight. Which was just, like, released in the dub form of the anime and has already been released in the sub form, but it's, like, it's perfect because it's right there where I'm at. So I could continue on, which kind of sucks because I gotta wait for season 4 pretty soon for the anime. But yeah, it's like, Midoriya is like my favorite character. Me and him have the same birthday. We both like the color green. And we both like superheroes to a nerdy extent where we're analyzing certain things. Like, I already do this already with certain superheroes where I'm like, okay, what powers do they really, with the whole power thing, and it's like, okay, so if they did this, would this also counter that? That kind of thing. Like, okay, for example, like, Logan, his bones are covered in vibranium. And Magneto is able to control metal. So therefore, does that mean Magneto is just able to just pick up Logan, like, no problem? Even though you don't really see it in the movies, but again, his bones are metal. So Magneto should be able to just pick up Logan and just toss him away, like, no issue. They never show it in the movies, and I don't know if they show it in the comics, but, I mean, unless Magneto just can't control that certain metal, I don't know. It's just certain things like that. I also like Bakugo because he's not this typical stereotype of a bully. Like, he is a bully to Deku, but he ends up, like, slowly having a redemption-ness of it, where it's like, he's slowly starting to become a better person to Deku. Plus, he's not like the typical bad boy, like, he's super smart, for example. Like, he's very tactical, and he's not blind rage, as a lot of people like to think. Like, he's not blind rage. He's got rage, but his rage it's in control raged, where it's like, he's not gonna blindly go into rage at stupid shit. It may seem like it, but, he's not stupid. He's, like, super smart. I also like Todoroki. He's my other favorite. I feel really bad for him. I feel really bad for him because there are people that like to compare him to his dad, and it's like, they're both different people, man. I know his dad's an asshole, but just give Shudo a chance. He's a sweet boy. Let's see. I don't know, I could go on all day, really, honestly, about the whole anime and the characters and whatnot. I really, really love it. I mean, I recently, on Thursday, the 27th, I actually went and seen the movie, the My Hero Academia movie, which is fantastic, by the way. And, man, the plot twists in that movie were great. Like, there was obviously a part where, I did, actually predict one thing in that movie, about a certain character. It was pretty obvious. But, man, I never really been in the only anime movie that I've actually watched in a theater is, When the Wind Rises, by Studio Ghibli. I watched that one, and that theater wasn't filled up, okay? It was maybe 10 people. Maybe. I feel like there was less than 10 people in that room. Maybe. But, man, the My Hero one sold out. They had to add another showing, which I didn't know. They must have did that last minute. But, yeah, it was so good. I really want to watch it again. There's also a scene that really got me thinking, but I'm not gonna tell you guys. Unfortunately, like, there's a lot of things that got me really thinking about it, but not gonna spoil any of it. You guys gotta go watch it. It's like really good, very entertaining. My Hero Academia is probably a manga that I would recommend to anybody that likes superheroes because it's that good. Yeah. I could go on all day about it. So, yeah. So, that's it for that. For all the books that I'm gonna be reading. Maybe until, like, October 11th, I believe. That's when I have to turn back, so that shouldn't be too long, nor should it take me that long. And hopefully by then I would have finished reading The Diviners. I really want to finish reading it. I wish my library had the audio book. Otherwise, I would have already been done with it, because usually big books like that, I rather like listen to it on audio. But whatever. So that's it for that. I do, however, have these little kitty bookmarks that my library had. I'm not really big into cats, but they're cute. Cute kitties. So, yep, that's it. I should probably stop. It's already like past 30 minutes and I've just been doing nothing but rambling. It's not even supposed to be that long of a video. Oh man. So, yeah, that's it. It's like, thanks for watching, and if you stuck around this long, you might as well subscribe, because why not? I mean, you stuck around past 30 minutes of me rambling about books and anime and whatnot. So, yeah. That's it for today. Bye!